lighting going on.
I know. She needs to move the lamps so we can see her face.
Yeah. Yeah, or maybe she just wants to make rude faces.
This is Mike Taylor. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I can see you, but I have to use a regular telephone, so that's why I'm the one at the top someplace. So sorry about that, but I can see you.
Okay, good.
I think everybody's gallery is going to be different.
Everyone's gallery, because it depends on, a whole bunch of stuff. This is exciting. I can't believe we've got so many people.
Oh, my goodness.
That's better, Sally.
Margie. I tried to sign in early so I could get the table chair set up, but they wouldn't let me.
Oh, dear.
Got mail.
We've got two gallery screens going, folks. This is amazing.
We've got 33 participants so far.
Can anybody see my wonderful little T-shirt here that I got for the holidays?
Oh, boy.
We've got at least 50, actually. I'm seeing 50 spaces here.
Wow.
I've got, well, we're up to 34 people actually signed into this.
Right, that's what I see too.
Right. This is so awesome. I was afraid I'd be all dressed up and nobody would show up other than Jack.
Hey, Marty.
Well, you know, Wendy, with full camera placement, you don't need to be dressed up.
Well, I mean, but I put on lipstick. I don't do that normally.
Neither do I.
Wendy, you look great. I can hear you all now. You look great. And it's always good to show respect to the guest speakers. So, as usual, I'm in coat and tie.
Good for you. One must have standards.
That's right. Make the rest of us look poor and cheap.
Hey, you don't look so bad. I like your background.
Michael Hayde.
A little advertising there.
Michael, this is Larry Gassman. A few of us have crashed. It's in California.
Hello, Larry.
That is fabulous.
Yeah, this is the first meeting I've ever
out here too, Michael.
And I'm Marilyn Murata.
Marilyn's here. John Abbott. I know John, and I know Michael.
And I'm Robert Acosta from California.
Yay!
And Walden from California. And we're here to hear you, but also Jack French.
No, you're here to hear Jack French.
We're here to hear Jack. We can interview Michael anytime.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they're done that. Starved for contact. This is wonderful.
And Tony Leonard from New Jersey.
Hello, I'm Marcia Moses from Michigan.
Hello, Marcia.
She drinks beer. From Seattle.
Wait, who was that from Seattle?
Scott Tanner. Scott, where are you?
I'm trying to bring you in, honey.
I'll be darned.
All right.
I saw him on there a minute ago.
Did I hear Martin Graham's name? Is Martin in here somewhere?
Martin's there.
Yeah, Martin's there, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
And Walden's here?
Yeah, I'm here, Tony. Yep.
I'm here.
All right,
I
Martin.
recognize the people that I know. They're tall.
Martin,
Hey, Joni's here from New Jersey. Hi, Joni. This is Tim
Joni's
Pasquale.
here. Hi, Joni.
Hey, Joni.
Hey, how wonderful.
I'm here.
Hello, everybody. Finally got in.
Yay, welcome.
That's Jeff Whipple from Virginia.
There you go.
Yep.
I don't know if you can hear me. Frank Morgan from Pennsylvania.
Frank Morgan from Pennsylvania.
Yay.
Hello.
We loved your last picture, The Wizard of Oz, Frank.
It's a classic.
Nice.
Well, thank you for letting us crash your...
Thank you so much, everybody, for letting us join you all this evening.
Crash the party.
Such a strong word.
Yeah, and I think the more the merrier.
But it's a fun word, you know.
Yeah. As long as it's
and may I ask who's the woman just speaking?
Left the meeting.
When?
That would be
me?
Wendy.
Yes,
Probably
you.
Wendy.
I'm Wendy Willow.
It is.
I hope someone will keep a list of all those who have checked. Helen's here, but I can't get her picture.
I can't tell.
All right, with the people who are negotiating with each other, go on mute until they are officially on board. People who are trying to get in and are not there yet and are talking about it. If those people could go on mute until you are definitely in, that would be helpful.
Okay. So now should we
and
all
thank you for sticking with us and trying to get in here.
Should we all mute ourselves or let?
Certainly, when the program starts.
When the program begins, I can mute everybody except Jack, and that's what I was wondering.
That's what I was wondering. Okay,
absolutely. That's the best practice on Zoom.
Yes, it is.
It certainly is.
Definitely.
We all learn from prior experience.
Right.
Yeah, sadly, yes.
Yep.
This is relatively new technology for me. Well, new within the last 5 weeks, but I have to say I'm enjoying it.
Oh, good for you.
This is my first ever Zoom meeting.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
In the 21st century, I'm only 400 years behind Buck
there
Rogers.
You go.
All right. Social hour is over. I officially declare, as president, I officially declare this meeting open. Boom.
Great.
There we go.
Yeah. Normally we have 15. People are going to say hi. Edgar, somebody just said hi to you.
Oh, who said hi? Hi back. Who said hi?
That would be Bob Flood.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Bob. We were acolytes together at church many years ago.
So, Michael, if you want to open the meeting, I can put everyone on mute except you. Would you like to do that?
I think in lieu of the old time first 15 of old time radio, we're just going to say hello to each other, right?
I think that I figured that was how we'd fill the first 15.
Yeah, we got 3 minutes to go then. So three more minutes of hellos and then we'll get down to business, right?
There you go. Perfect.
Okay. Okie dokie. Okay. I see Jeff and Mary. Oh, wait.
We made it.
I see Kathy McCara and Sally and Dennis and Martin and Jeff and Edgar and John.
Alan.
Romper room all of a sudden. Romper room.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
I hope that's an official Joe Friday magnifying glass.
Whoa, Dennis Roma rocking the stash.
Yeah, I like the stash, Dennis.
Come on, speak up.
Yes, well, it'll be gone by this weekend. Yeah, I started growing it the moment I started working from home, and then I started looking like a stuffy Englishman, and trimmed it a little, and then that's just I'm done with it. So,
There's nothing wrong with a mustache.
Hey, it's fine.
You just need a beard to go with it, Dennis.
Oh yeah, Dennis, I know.
Sally's got the whole Ingrid Bergman thing going on with the lighting over
Jeff
there.
And Mary, yay. And Sally and Dennis. Whoa.
Oh, wait a minute. Hi.
All right. Don't everybody speak at once.
Is Marcia here?
All right. Where is Jack French? He was here earlier.
He was here earlier?
Yeah.
Because I'm not seeing him on the list now.
Yeah.
Which officers are here besides myself and Michael?
Sally.
Oh, Sally.
Well, that's right. You're not an officer anymore. I forgot.
How about Joni?
Okay. Joni couldn't make it. She's dealing with I don't know if you all heard, but Chuck Langdon had a ruptured appendix on Palm Sunday.
Oh. Wow.
So he had to go to a hospital and then into rehab, and he just came home this past Wednesday.
Oh boy!
Actually, a week ago Wednesday. Of all times to go into a hospital, right?
Yeah.
And rehab to boot. Anyway, he still needs some in-home care when it comes to bathing, and tonight is his scheduled bath. So Joni's helping with that. Yeah, we all wish prayers and good wishes to Chuck and
guess who's here?
Has
Hello.
somebody sent a card to Chuck from the club?
I don't think so, because I'm guessing this is the first the club has heard of it. Joni told me in an email a couple of days ago about all of this. So, yeah. And it's a little difficult for the club to send a signed card these days. Unless we send it to each other, and he gets it a year from now.
For my initials.
Look.
But anyone who wishes to send him a card on behalf of the club, and I can certainly do that too, would be welcome, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Great.
All right.
This is nice.
Would somebody who has Jack French's phone number please call him and tell him to log in again, because it will now work. There was a period when it wasn't working.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Martin.
Yeah, this is Martin. I told Jack, I told him use the link now. It works. So he'll be on in a minute.
Oh, good.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Martin.
Thank you, Marty.
Yeah, I'm
Appreciate
sorry
it.
about that hiccup.
Oh, that was nice.
Martin, I'm all set to send out the next issue of the newsletter, the Radio Recall, as soon as I get your masters.
Oh, I just getting ready to print it now.
Okay. They're calling here.
Okay. So, Wendy, I guess you need to keep an eye on the waiting room and make sure Jack gets admitted when he
I
checks
think
in.
people are just coming in now. Although
You may have disabled it.
I think it must be disabled.
Yeah.
Let me just double check.
Whenever I'm a host, I just
Marcia.
Waiting room. Yeah, the waiting room is disabled, so we're good. So anybody can crash the meeting now.
Oh,
too late.
hello.
Too late.
Oh,
That's the right one.
All righty. I'm toggling between my two gallery screens here, and
Okay, here's
I'm
my.
still not seeing Jack yet. Mark and Marcia, are you still here?
We are.
Can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you. Assume you're on a phone, right?
No, we're on a computer. I don't know why we're not showing up.
You may have to choose start video. It should show up on the bottom of the screen, bottom left. There's an option that says start video and stop video.
Upstairs. I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
boy.
I hear you, yes, and
I don't see it.
Oh, well.
right.
Because I'm not seeing the bushes in the list.
Yeah.
No, I see Marcia Bush. The name is on screen showing that she's here, but and I know Mark is sitting with her.
Yeah, it's on page 2, basically.
Well, the party can start.
You click on
Let's see if I can
Oh,
see
there we
some
are.
other people that.
This is so good.
This keyboard doesn't work.
Hello, Brad.
Hello. There we are.
There we go.
Oh,
Mark and Marcia are here. All right.
And
Mark and Marcia are the wizards of sound effects when we
Yay!
do our live performances, and they are without peer.
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
Absolutely, without peer.
Oh, glad to see you all.
Oh, are you able to?
Oh yeah, yeah. I can. You he has to turn around. I'm fine. Yes, I'm wrong.
Seeing Jack.
Yeah.
See everybody.
Oh, hello,
Yay!
Jack.
Where is he?
Google a second. Oh, they're still, they can't find them either.
All right.
We can see ourselves, but it's not going anywhere.
And I hear Virginia and
Lawrence. Lawrence and Virginia.
Yeah, Lawrence and Virginia. Lawrence and Virginia from Virginia.
Yes. we can't seem to get the video going. I'm not sure why.
Okay. Do you have a little button on the bottom of the screen when you move your cursor? Does it pop up and say start video?
It keeps telling us that select another video camera. We only have one.
Oh, so it's possible
anyway,
it's not reading.
Hello, everybody. We're glad to see all of you that you're doing well and keep it on.
Keeping healthy.
Yeah.
All right.
Great stuff.
Jack French, are you on this call?
I'm on this call, but all I can do is see you. I can't see me and anything else. It says ask you to start your video.
Okay.
Yeah, I just did that.
Okay, so what do I do?
Start your video.
Start your video.
Okay.
Yes, try okay.
My sound engineer just left. I have no idea what I'm doing.
There you go. You're on.
You're
on.
You're on. Oh, Tex.
Howdy.
All right.
We see you, Jack.
Looking sharp, Jack.
Oh boy, I like the look, Jack.
All right. So shall we start the program?
Yes.
Wendy, can you mute everyone except Jack?
Yeah, just a sec. Let me just do one thing. Jack is listed as iPad 2. I am going to rename him to his actual name, which will make it easier for me to keep track of what I'm doing. Did I get?
Yes,
I got right?
says,
Okay.
It now says Jack French.
Okay, I am going to mute everyone and unmute Jack. Okay, so here you're all mute.
Here we are.
Mute all, and then Jack. Okay, Jack, you're live, or you should be. Yay! Perfect.
The cowboy attire is because of the 8 programs I'm going to talk about. Half of them are Western shows. So I thought I'd put on my cowboy hat for this. The history of old-time radio, as it moves into the television era, of course, had a large number of radio shows that became TV shows, well over 150. Practically, it's hard to name a popular radio show that didn't become a TV show. But we're going to reverse it tonight and look at the TV shows that spawned a radio show. I've only located 8 of them so far. There may be more. I doubt it. And of those 8, the first one I'll discuss, Hopalong Cassidy, technically doesn't belong in this category, but we're going to put it there anyway. For this reason, the radio show of Hopalong Cassidy did go on the air as a syndicated show. Nobody listened to it. Nobody heard it until a year later when the television show came on. And then suddenly all these radio shows of Hopalong Cassidy appeared on the air. Now, as probably most of you know, Hopalong Cassidy was created by Clarence Mulford. He wrote the first Hopalong Cassidy show in 1905, a short story. And the first movie was made in 19... And William Boyd was the star. And Mulford quickly found out that when you sell the rights to something, you lose all control over it. Because his Hopalong Cassidy was an old geezer with a wooden leg who limped, who smoked, who drank, who spit, who cussed. And in his place, we got William Boyd, the handsomest of all the matinee idols, in a beautiful black uniform, and did not limp, did not cuss, did not swear, and the strongest thing he drank was sarsaparilla. Now, William Boyd was a very intelligent guy in terms of looking ahead. And so from the time television came about, roughly after World War II, he went ahead and bought all the rights for television and radio that he had in Hopalong Cassidy. Cost him approximately $350,000, which would be umpteen million today. He mortgaged his house and moved into a tiny apartment with his fifth wife, Grace. Like Tom Mix, William Boyd had 5 wives. At any rate, it was a tremendously successful endeavor on his part. The radio show produced by Commodore was ridiculously unsuccessful until the TV show came out in 1949. It was an immediate hit, and by 1950, William Boyd was earning $70 million a year. Not from the TV show necessarily, but from all the radio and TV premiums that they offered. Hopalong Cassidy cowboy suits, badges. Hopalong Cassidy was on every product you can imagine: milk, jam, chocolate drink, etc. In fact, the company that manufactured the lunch boxes for kids had never sold more than 50,000 lunchbox of a given hero. With Hopalong Cassidy, the first year, they sold 600,000 lunchbox. So it made him a multimillionaire. And here's what his radio show sounded like.
It's Hopalong Cassidy. With action and suspense, out of the Old West comes the most famous hero of them all, Hopalong Cassidy, starring William Boyd. The Ring of the Silver Spurs heralds the most amazing man ever to ride the prairies of the early West, Hopalong Cassidy. This famous hero thrills his 60 million fans with action and dangerous adventure. In the role of Hopalong Cassidy is the popular star of the motion picture series, William Boyd. And appearing as that laughable old character, California, is Andy Clyde. Now to our story, Hoppy Takes a Chance. September at the Bar 20. Like all cattle ranchers, is a happy month for the line riders, the lonely cowboys whose duty it is to patrol the boundaries of the ranch and see to it that the outfit stock stays on the reservation. It's a happy time because it marks the end of the season for them and the friendly atmosphere of the ranch house just around the corner. But Bob Cranston was different from the rest. There was a frown on his face as Hoppy rode up to him on the ridge south of the Bar 20 ranch house.
Hi there, Waddy. How's it going? Can't complain, Hoppy. Good. I figure on sending you out at sunup tomorrow. Make a circuit of the ranch boundaries, run down the strays, and kick any of Salinger's cows back onto their own territory. Take you a week or so. Okay, boss.
Clarence Mulford, the creator of Hopalong Cassidy, lived to be 73 years old, died in 1950. William Boyd died a multimillionaire in 1972 at the age of 83. Funnily enough, his fifth wife, Grace, lived to be 97, died in 2010. Let's move on to the next Western. Now, there are 3 reasons why television shows created a radio show. Number one is in 1950, not everybody had a television show, but they wanted to hear at least the shows that they heard other people talking about. Secondly, there weren't enough TV stations. I grew up in northern Wisconsin. We were halfway between the TV station in Minneapolis and Milwaukee. Neither one of them came in very good. And the third reason was strictly economic for the networks. They could market a radio show in Canada while they couldn't market the TV show. And in fact, this next recording of Wild Bill Hickok is a Canadian show that they did. Now, Wild Bill Hickok, of course, is based upon the original Wild Bill Hickok, sort of. And his name wasn't Bill, it wasn't even William, it was James, James Butler Hickok, who wasn't a U.S. Marshal. He was sometimes a sheriff and sometimes an outlaw, sometimes in between, mostly just a gambler. But he picked up the name Wild Bill when he joined Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. Now, you didn't have to be called Bill to join the show, but it seemed like the stars did. Pawnee Bill, who was Buffalo Bill's partner, was actually Gordon Lilly. And so James Butler Hickok became Wild Bill Hickok because he didn't want to be called Wild James, I would guess. At any rate, the television show started off as a syndicated one, ran for 3 years, and then ran for another 4 years on the networks. This would have been 1951 and ran through 1958. The radio show came on in 1951. It was 3 times a week, sponsored by Kellogg's. And here's the way it sounded to Canadian audiences.
Kellogg's, the greatest name in cereals, presents Wild Bill Hickok! Hiya, folks. Hang on. So as quick as you can say Kellogg's Rice Krispies, here comes Guy Madison as Wild Bill and his pal Jingles, which is me, Andy Devine. We got another rootin' tootin' Wild Bill Hickok adventure story for you, and it's brought to you by Canada's only talking cereal. Yep, it goes snap, crackle, pop. Kellogg's Rice Krispies! Kellogg's Rice Krispies brings you Wild Bill Hickok. Transcribed in Hollywood and starring Guy Madison as Wild Bill and Andy Devine as his pal Jingles. The fabulous reputation of United States Marshal Wild Bill Hickok spread like a prairie fire across the plains of the Old West, and from ranch and farm and cow town came calls for his help against the outlaw. One such call led Wild Bill and Jingles, his loyal deputy, headlong into an adventurous search for the mysterious bell ringer.
Well, sure, Mr. Hickok, I can tell you and Jingles how to get to our Iraqi sheep ranch, but I wouldn't go there if I was you. But he sent for us, Mr. Shane.
Hold it, Jingles. You got a reason for that advice, Shane? Sure, he's got a reason, Hickok. Aramaki's a low-down sheep herder, just like that Nate Boss. They'll be run out of the country.
Doggone it, I've had enough of your lip, Mr. Matson. You may be one of the biggest cattlemen in this section, but if you
Jingles,
don't...
hold it a minute.
Oh, all right. I'll just sit down here where I can kick him in the shin. Oh, not in that chair, you big old... Oh, now, thanks, Nabbit. Look at what you done, Jingles. Broke my best chair.
The radio show ended in 1956. The TV show continued on through 1958. Andy Devine died in 1977. He was only 71 years old. Guy Madison lived to be 74. He died in 1996. Now let's switch gears completely and go to the most popular kids show on television of all time. And that's, of course, Howdy Doody. Martin Grahams has written extensively on the radio show as it contrasted from the TV show. Now, Robert Smith, who went by Bob Smith, grew up in Buffalo, New York. He was a child star on radio as a singer and a radio actor, made his way to New York, did some successful radio work there, and eventually got his own show. And the show was the Triple B Ranch. And on that was a character named Elmer. And Elmer always said, howdy doody. And the radio show was on the air for about 2 or 3 years when Smith convinced the network to create a television show about this character. And it was all done with puppets, of course. And to make it even more complicated, Buffalo Bob actually voiced Howdy Doody. And since he wasn't a ventriloquist, he recorded all of Howdy Doody's lines in advance, and the studio engineer would play them on when the marionette had to talk. There were a few live people on the show in addition to the marionettes. Clarabelle the clown, played by Bob Keesham, who later became Captain Kangaroo. A young lady who passed herself off as age 18 when she was actually 25. She played the Indian princess, summer, fall, winter, spring. And basically you had the kids gallery, a live audience of little kids, up to about 30 in the studio at the same time. And the TV show went on. There were comedy skits, there were musicals, there were cartoons played on the screen, etc. And it became so successful that when they ran Howdy Doody for president, he got 60,000 votes. They were all from the kids, and they all came to the TV show, and alas, were not counted in the presidential election. Both the radio show and the TV show were sponsored by Paul Parrott Shoes. The TV show ran from 1947 till 1960, so a 13-year run. The radio version was on from 51 to 54. The whole idea of the radio show was to imitate the TV show as close as they could without the actual characters being there. And it made it a lot easier for Buffalo Bob because he no longer had to record Howdy Doody's lines in advance. He could just deliver them in a different voice at the microphone.
Say, kids, what time is it? Oh, well, howdy, Doody, kids, and well, howdy, Mr. Doody, and boys and girls at home and kids in the gallery, let's go. Here's the Prince of Summer, Fall, Winter, Spring.
Hi, Buffalo Bob.
And Dilly Dally.
Dilly Dally. Oh, that's me.
That's me. Yes, sir. And this is the Peanut Gallery. Time for our Howdy Doody do's and don'ts.
Doody, doozy, doodly, don't you want see what? Hey, that sounds like double talk, Mr. Smith.
No, Dilly. It's very, very simple. Now, you just listen. Oh, do a howdy doody do. But don't do a howdy doody don't. Cause a howdy doody do will be good for you. But a howdy doody don't won't. There.
Buffalo Bob Smith died in 1998 at the age of 80. He'd been in and out of radio from the time that the Howdy Doody show went off and was very successful and very happy in his later life. The next show we'll talk about was one of the first science fiction shows on radio, but it was a science fiction show for kids. Tom Corbett's Space Cadet. Went on the air as a 15-minute TV show, was on 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And the hero, of course, was Tom Corbett, who was played by Frankie Thomas. Frankie Thomas was identified in the script as an 18-year-old space cadet. In reality, Frankie was actually 31 years old. He was chiefly famous in the movies for being the boyfriend of Nancy Drew in the 4 movies that were made of Nancy Drew in the 1930s. Show went on the air in 1950, the fall of 1950, and the radio show came out 2 years later. It only ran for 6 months. And the TV show ended in 52, although the radio show in its 6 months extended itself for until July 52. And the radio show was on twice a week, and they were both sponsored by Kellogg's. Let's listen to this great science fiction show on the radio.
Kellogg's Pep, the build-up wheat cereal, takes you to the world beyond tomorrow, in the age of the conquest of space. When roaring rockets blast to distant stars and far-flung planets with orbit. Think Cadet. Stand by to raise ship. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Chimes of the Tower of Galileo echoes over the campus of Space Academy, calling the hour of 9:30. Dormitory windows slowly go dark as cadet units retire for the night. But light continues to stream brightly from Section 42B, the quarters of the Polaris unit. Inside, Cadet Tom Corbett, a tall, curly-haired boy of 18, is seated at the desk, dictating a letter into the audio writer. Nearby, Cadet Astro, the second member of the Polaris unit, listens intently to earphones clamped tightly to his ears as a study spool whirls in the study machine, droning out a lesson in astrogation. And the third member of the Polaris unit, Cadet Roger Manning, idly contemplates his collection of pinups. Cadet life is quiet and routine on the Space Academy campus.
Now, the next, we're going to talk about the most popular game show in prime time, which ran for 18 seasons. Nothing ever topped it. It was called, of course, What's My Line? John Daly was the host on television, and the usual panel consisted of Steve Allen, Bennett Cerf, Dorothy Kilgallen, and Arlene Francis. Arlene Francis was on almost every show, not quite. I think she missed something like 5 shows in the 18 years it was on the air. Substituting for her or anybody else who missed out would be Fred Allen and Orson Bean. And basically it was simplicity itself in TV. They brought on a mysterious guest who signed their name on a chalkboard. That was the only thing that visual happened on this TV show. And then the panel would ask questions, yes and no questions. Each no answer gave $10 to the person who was hiding their occupation. And when they got to 50, that was as much as the sponsor would pay for, so they didn't go beyond that. The show was popular enough to finally register a radio show, which was not that complicated. Slightly different cast and a different announcer. Wasn't that successful. Was on the air from 1 year, 1952 to 1953. There's 3 copies floating around someplace. I have not found a copy of the radio show, and stay tuned until I do find one. Next, we jump to a very popular comedy TV show, in which in a previous meeting we heard the creation of Gail Storm on Gateway to Hollywood. My Little Margie was booked as the summer replacement for I Love Lucy in June 1950.
Armed Forces Radio Service presents My Little Margie, starring Gail Storm and Charles Farrell. Now let's drop in on Margie and his father's bird. It's Monday morning, and Vern should be going to the office, but instead he's staying home. He was out very late the night before, and today he feels sick.
Oh, my head, my poor head.
Dad, you look terrible. Where were you last night?
Out with Connie. Oh, what a headache I've got.
Well, where did you go?
Oh, Connie found a club.
Well, what did she do? Hit you with it?
I don't know what hit me, but all I know is I've got an awful pain in my head. Well, what should I do?
Get a pound of hard salami, a big dill pickle, and a jar of sour cream. Then eat it.
What for?
In 5 minutes, you'll have such a heartburn, you'll forget all about your head.
Oh, a lot of sympathy I'm getting from you.
Well, it's your own fault. You should know better than to carry on like that, staying up past the night, dancing like mad, exhausting yourself. Why do you do it anyway?
Well, because it's a lot of fun.
Gail Storm played both the leads on radio and TV. However, for some reason, they replaced all the supporting characters with more familiar radio voices. The radio show ended in 1955. The next one I'll discuss, again, I don't have a copy from, that's Tales of Tomorrow, a relatively short-lived but popular science fiction show which spawned its own radio show. There's reputed to be maybe 3 copies floating around or more. I haven't found one yet, still looking. The TV show was a scientific anthology, ran from August 1951 to June 1953. They had top-notch stars on it as guest stars. It was kind of an anthology show, and you never heard the same voices in the successive shows. But people like Lee J. Cobb and that caliber were on the show on an occasional basis. They did a lot of recreations of horror as well. They did Frankenstein a couple of times. They did 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, but they did some modern stuff. They did a show on flying saucers. The radio show was created in 1953 in January, was only on the air for 3 months and went off the air. Most of the stories for both the TV version and the radio show service came from Galaxy Sci-Fi magazine. Now we come to the last TV show that spawned a radio show. And again, it's another Western, and it's very well known. Have Gun Will Travel. Have Gun Will Travel with Richard Boone on the lead as Paladin. Debuted on CBS in 1957 and was always in the top 3 of the Westerns, usually slightly behind Gunsmoke and Wagon Train. Again, the reason that they brought the radio show was that people could hear Have Gun Will Travel when they didn't have the TV version or didn't have a TV set. They approached Richard Boone and said, "Hey, how'd you like to work for After Scale doing the radio show too?" And he said, "No, thank you. The TV show is just fine." And in fact, when you're doing a daily show, you really don't have time in any active capacity to spend time on that. So they went to a fairly unusual voice, a guy who had turned down the leading role in Gunsmoke. John Daner auditioned for it before Bill Conrad got the role. He was offered the lead as Matt Dillon, and he turned it down because he said he didn't want to be stereotyped as a Western actor. So he turned it down. Curiously enough, John Daner appears as a supporting character on Gunsmoke 416 times, more than any other supporting character at all of Gunsmoke. He also had the lead in Frontier Gentleman, another CBS Western. At any rate, I don't think this was his idea, but maybe they were just playing up to him. When he was introduced on the radio show, he was always Mr. John Dehner. Dehner came into radio relatively late in life. He had stumbled through as a piano salesman, a regular artist and whatnot. Finally, his father got him a job at Walt Disney Studios as an illustrator on the cartoons. And during a documentary they made of Walt Disney Studios, he impressed everybody so much that he quickly became well-known in radio, TV, and the movies. Now, the TV show, in addition to changing the leading cast members, changed the other ones too, because the same people like Hey Boy and Hey Girl were not played by the same Asian actors as they were on television. Here's how John Dehner sounded like on imitating Paladin.
Mister, you killed 9 men. I never heard anyone say you made allowances for your opponent's ability with a gun.
Have Gun Will Travel. Starring Mr. John Dehner as Paladin. San Francisco, 1875. The Carlton Hotel, headquarters of the man called Paladin.
Good morning, Mr. Paladin.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Paladin.
Good morning, Mr. Davis. I'm going to be at the Pacific Union Club. I was wondering if there's any mail for us.
Clerk, a room, please. Do you have a reservation?
No reservation. This trip came up suddenly.
You have references?
I'm Ned Alcorn, president of the City Bank in Placerville. Here are my credentials.
Oh, yes, of course, Mr. Alcorn. If you sign here. Excuse me, Mr. Alcorn.
Wait a minute, clerk.
Yes, sir.
I want you to take a good look at this picture.
Manfred Holt, wanted dead or alive, $2,000 reward.
This man might show up here.
A desperado here in San Francisco.
May I see that?
Oh, I beg your pardon?
I'm sorry. My name is Paladin, Mr. Alcorn. I couldn't help overhearing.
Oh.
This Manfred Holt, wasn't he to be hanged last week in Placerville?
Why, yes. He broke out of jail 3 days ago. Killed 2 deputies.
You think he's coming here?
I think so, yes. He's killed 9 men, and he'll come after me sooner or later.
Why?
Well, I was the chief witness against him at the trial.
Oh, I see.
His wife's living in a cabin up in Grass Valley. She had a son born while the trial was on. Holt swore in court that he'd see the infant and then come after me.
It'd probably be better for you if Holt was stopped in Grass Valley, wouldn't it?
Of course. As it is, there's a sheriff and a couple of deputies chasing him up there for all the good it'll do. This makes the 4th time Holt's got away from Sheriff Ludlow. Oh, that sheriff's not too smart.
I'm no bounty hunter, Mr. Alcorn. However, I am available for a fee.
To do what?
Here. My card.
Have Gun Will Travel.
Now, the TV show ran 6 years, from 1957 to 1963. Radio show was on the air for 3 years, 1958 to 1960. The last episode on the TV one was quite unusual, as John Dunning has pointed out, because virtually every cowboy series ended with the cowboy riding west into the sunset. In this case, Paladin is a recipient of a large inheritance from his aunt in Boston, and he leaves the series riding east into the sunrise. And that concludes the story of TV to radio.
Very good. Very good.
That's great, Jack. Thank you.
Jack.
Yeah, that was really wonderful.
Jack, this is Jim Pasquale. I seem to remember at one of our meetings, somebody presenting about the Avengers going from television to a radio show in South Africa.
Yeah, that was me mentioning it. Yes, that's true.
Right.
All the time.
Jackie Lawrence. Just as a quick sidelight, I used to have a Tom Corbett Space Academy playset.
Another remarkable thing about that show is that the Friends of Old Time Radio convention in Newark, about 9 or 10 years ago, got the 3 leads in Tom Corbett Space Cadet to all appear at the convention, and they did a recreation of Tom Corbett Space Cadet.
Jack, with the FOTR presentation, they deliberately kept Frankie Thomas out of sight as the other characters were getting ready to begin the mission. And then right from the kitchen, Frankie Thomas walked in a spacesuit. And I could tell from the brown and grays of the spacesuit, I said, oh my God, that's the original one. And it was.
Yeah.
So he still knew how to be a showbiz guy and set up the excitement.
And to keep his weight down for that advanced age to still get in the suit.
But is it true that he was buried in it?
Oh, wow.
I know. I literally have heard that he was buried in his Tom Corbett suit. Does anyone know for sure?
Yeah, I hadn't heard that.
Only as Undertaker, I guess.
Well, I think Fred,
Edgar, I was just checking to make sure you had your tie on.
Yes.
Very good.
Well, my pleasure for you. And at the risk of monopolizing the conversation for 30 more seconds, many of you know that Will Hutchins was a regular at the FOTR, the star of Sugarfoot, but he also loved radio. He watched many shows in California growing up, and he just celebrated his 90th birthday on May 5th. I called him to wish a happy birthday. He called me back. We spoke about 40 minutes, and I reminded him of the time that he was going to be able to come down to Washington to be in one of our plays. And so he's in great shape, and he, said hello once again to you all.
I'm really glad to hear that. He wrote the introduction to my book, Radio Rides the Range.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, he's doing great, everybody.
What's the attendance for tonight's meeting? Can we ask the host, did they count?
I don't know.
So far, some people have sort of dropped in and out, but it's ranging. Right now, there are 34 on the call, and that we actually got as high as about 38 or so, I believe.
Great.
So that's quite a respectable turnout, I'd say, for this experiment of ours.
This is what we have to do.
Well, Arthur, thanks to you and to Michael for arranging this thing. This is great.
Well, I'm delighted to be part of it and be able to help facilitate it.
Jack, this is Mike Taylor. There is one other television show that did spin off a radio show, Space Patrol.
Pardon?
Space Patrol. Okay. It was on television and then on radio.
Okay, I'll look into that. Thank you.
Yeah, you can find a Wikipedia page for it. That's the only reason I mentioned it. I'm a fan of the show, so that's the only reason I would even mention it. So you have one more to add to your list.
Did they have the same cast?
Yes, it did, by and large. And you can find a lot of those shows on radio.
I have a question. Did I Love Lucy briefly have a radio version of I Love Lucy?
No.
I seem to recall that.
It was just a pilot, right?
Right. Yeah.
It was a pilot that never aired. They were just trying to do an inexpensive way of showing the networks what the TV show would like. But no, it was not a radio edition, and it was just a pilot, but it exists, and people are passing it off as a radio show, which it wasn't.
I see. Thank you.
May I just say that I got to go to see the Howdy Doody show. I sat in the peanut gallery.
Wow.
Oh, my.
Wow.
What?
Congratulations. Wow.
Joni.
Yeah. I guess I was about 10 or 11, and I thought that I was a little bit too old to go to it, but then I watched it on TV. So my father was a sponsor of Howdy Doody, so we got to go, and it was really fun. And Bob Smith was. I always loved Bob Smith because I used to listen to him on the radio when I was younger. So it was fun going to see Howdy Doody, but I remember sitting there were like bleachers, and but they put me in the front row because I couldn't climb the bleachers. And somebody was kicking me the whole time. I remember that part of it.
Who is telling this story?
My name, you mean? I'm Joan
Yes.
Leonard. Joni
Okay,
Leonard.
again?
Well, my name is Joan, but I like to be called Joni. So I'm Joni Leonard. I am 80 years old, and I live in a long-term care nursing home. And
God bless you.
I love, but not only love, but I'm obsessed with old-time radio.
Oh,
Well, it's wonderful to have you on the call, Joni.
yes.
Thank you.
Do you know about the big broadcast? Do you know about the 4-hour WAMU show that's available on computer?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Jack, in relation to Tales of Tomorrow, I actually have 7 of those episodes from the radio show.
And you also have a mustache.
Yes, yes. In relation to the Tales of Tomorrow, I also have a mustache.
Gosh, that guy sounds like Dennis.
So I know 5 of those episodes are easily downloadable online, and I can send you a link where you can download those 5 episodes, and I can also send you the 2 episodes that aren't available. So.
Okay, I wouldn't even know how to download them.
Okay, well, I can just send them all as attachments then.
You're talking to a guy who has his cassette player next to his phone.
Yes.
Hey, it worked. He got the
It
job
worked.
done.
It worked. It worked.
Brought it.
It worked. I give him his props. It worked.
How to blend the old with the new and have something wonderful.
And Jack, if you turn to pages 114 and 115 of this book right here, Flights of Fantasy, there's some info about Space Patrol going from TV to radio.
Yeah, I was thinking that it would be familiar to the Superman fans since they had the same sponsor and the same announcer, Jackson Beck.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
Phil, looked like you were going in and out of another dimension when you flashed that.
Yeah, I know. It's because of the virtual background. It's playing havoc with.
I like the
plays
virtual
havoc with my chair.
background.
It's like I'm not sitting in a chair. There's a back to this chair that you can't see. Maybe I could be Superman. I'll put a sky behind me.
Yeah, nothing like the virtual background. You can do some wonderful things with that.
Yeah.
Mark.
Anyway, I want to point out our speakers. Well, I got to point the right way. There it is. Our speaker's book, Private Eyelashes, right here on my wall. which is an excellent, excellent read. You should all be reading since you can't go to work and you can't leave the house. You should all be reading these fine books about old time radio.
Absolutely.
Teaching.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. Well,
I saw Buffalo Bob.
shall we wrap it up?
I think someone was trying to say something.
Ellen wanted to say hi.
Hello, Ellen.
Hi, Ellen.
Ellen.
Hey. How are you,
Hi,
Ellen? Good to see you. And good to see the sort of edge of Fred's head, too.
Yeah.
Oh, there is hi.
There he is.
Leaning on the side, I thought I might try to bring the volume up. I didn't know if her mic was on or not. But okay.
No, it's great. It's wonderful. I mean, I'm seeing people I haven't seen in a long time.
Let's do this next month.
We might want to consider this as a winter.
What, in place of the luncheon?
Yes. Yes.
So we'll just sit and watch each other eat. That's a great idea.
There you go. Well, we can make that happen.
Bob, that it's on you to come up with a program.
I thought we were going to go to the diner after this and get takeout.
Retreat, right?
Eat out in the parking lot together.
Oh, I think there might be more than 10 of us. Someone might get on there. Drive-in, yes. The drive-through. This is great.
Well, are we going to plan this for next month?
Yeah.
Yes,
yes, we will.
I think it's, why not? I mean, we're not probably going to get together. We would normally do lunch,
right?
But that doesn't seem realistic right now.
No.
Well,
I'm happy to set it up for the group,
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
This is Marcia Moses from Michigan, and for a comment first. Nobody mentioned Superman.
Well, Superman started on radio,
But I always appreciated Superman more on TV than radio.
Woman after my own heart.
Thank you. Okay. And I just wanted to say thank you so much to Mr. French for his presentation this evening. And I would certainly love to be invited next month to return to your Zoom meeting. This is great. Thank you so much, everybody.
I'm delighted. So maybe plan for the second Friday
in June.
It'll be June 12th.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm hoping by then we won't have snow flurries in Michigan and it's the upper 30s.
They're using that word around here for Saturday.
Where in Michigan are you?
I'm in the Detroit area.
My
suburb. Yeah, a suburb. But I have not been personally impacted, with the dreaded disease. So
thank God. That's wonderful.
And no one, thank God, no one I know is impacted. I mean, personally, that I know. I mean, I know people who know people and that kind of thing. But so far, so good here.
Martin, glad to hear somebody from Michigan. That's my home state.
Really?
The UP, Escanaba.
Oh, Escanaba. I went through Escanaba a few years back, and no, actually that was Munising. I was going to say we stopped at Hardee's and picked up lunch, but Escanaba, Munising, right around,
Hey, Jack, that's interesting because I'm from Cadillac.
Oh, wonderful. Cadillac's great.
That's 3 Michiganders. Good.
Yes.
Wow.
Michiganders.
Michiganders.
Michiganders, yes.
Michigooners.
Take a gander at the Michiganders.
Well, great stuff.
Well, back in the 80s, they'd say the last person leave the state to turn the lights out. So then we were Michiganers. But no.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's good.
Well, thank you again so much.
Hey, Martin Grams would you like to speak about your Mid-Atlantic Nostalgia Convention for a moment and let everybody know about it?
Sure. And my wife says hello, by the way.
Hello, Michelle.
Hello.
So you can add another head count to that.
Yeah.
We do not know if we are going to do a Nostalgia Con yet. We're going to wait until the day after 4th of July. So if there is any cancellation, it will not be rescheduled. We will announce that on the website the day after the 4th of July.
Okay.
Can you give the email for some of our distant people who may not know about it?
Okay. There's a website. It's AtlanticNostalgiaConvention.com. And it has a temporary now, tentative schedule of events, movies, celebrities that will be coming. I anticipate any celebrity over the age of 70 canceling.
Yeah. I wonder why.
I would think so.
Which is all of them.
Yeah. I think some of them need money, so they may be there hell or high water. It comes down to everybody's safety. We figured out every precaution that we can do, but there's other factors in play. But we make a call, and we'll make the decision the day after 4th of July.
All right. Thank you,
Good to
Martin.
know.
Good to know. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And thank you, Edgar, for putting Martin on the spot.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
We get a little commercial.
Right.
That's true.
Get the information.
And may I point out Martin's newest book, Truth or Consequences, behind me here. Oh, now I'm disembodied completely. I'm just ahead.
You're disappearing into the background.
Well, this is great. Let's do this again next month.
Please, yes. Thank you. Thank you, Wendy, for stepping up. All right. And we'll just have to come up with a program.
Well, I'm sure, perhaps some of I know Rob Farr was on the call earlier, but he left. But, I think, didn't he have something scheduled in one of those canceled meetings that we've had?
I think he ended up finally doing that one.
Yeah, he was going to do the W.C. Fields.
Yeah, that was the W.C.
Oh, that's right, the W.C. Fields with Harriet Fields.
Right.
Right, and it didn't. Well, I mean, it may be possible to pull some of these back in.
Well, we'll
it will
be
be
and find out.
Fun exploration.
Yeah,
I am so delighted because I have felt quite robbed the last 2 months not being able to come to the club meeting. So thank you all for indulging me. And
thank you for volunteering this and
my assumptive close, is sort of like, well, what do you think? Okay, I scheduled it. So
it was great.
That's what happens when someone who spent time in sales gets hold of something.
Well, thank you so much for inviting us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wendy, for doing this.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Michael, for emceeing. And Jack,
the commute was great.
Our inaugural program for Zoom.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank
You're
you, Jack.
welcome.
Thank you all.
Made my day with Hoppy.
And thank you, Larry Gassman, for sending us the link.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Thanks, Jack.
All right. Thank you so much.
We don't need to stack all the chairs back up.
Oh, that's what you're thinking, huh? And there's Edgar taking a picture of the screen.
That's right.
I choose Jeff Whipple to block. Now that's a Hollywood Squares
much easier commute for you.
Oh, extremely. Yeah. Up the stairs. That was it.
Drive for hours to get to the meeting. Hey.
Let's watch the
Then eventually we
Hollywood
can.
Square stuff the other day.
Once we master this format, we can actually do readings from
It is
Zoom.
to have a virtual play.
Well, right, Just saying, it's not outside of the realm of possibility.
That's true.
Absolutely.
It wouldn't take.
Stop with the
It wouldn't
deer in
be.
the headlights.
It wouldn't be too bad doing sorry wrong number. I'll tell you that.
My favorite.
Oh my! Too close to home.
Too close to home.
We have ideas about the June program. Who do we contact? Jim?
Jim Pasquale, I think.
Pasquale?
Isn't he the sort of in charge of that?
He is, yes.
Yep, he's the program person.
I'm sure he'd be
I
happy to
will-
have people volunteering.
I wield absolute power. Yes, thank you.
Oh, good. Might still be on there.
Real absolute power.
Absolutely.
I am a benign dictator, though.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, that's good.
Well, how come Jim's video isn't on?
Double click on that.
He's the dictator, and I take dictation.
There you go.
Oh, very good. Very good.
Mark and
I
Marcia,
guess-
who are you trying to look at?
Our big picture went away.
Oh,
Usually it'll
Got it
say.
back.
Oh, you got
Got-
it back. Okay.
all
Because
right.
it's usually the difference between gallery view and active speaker.
Yeah. You choose active speaker, and people's heads keep popping up. If you choose gallery view, it just looks like several
Hollywood
episodes of the
Squares.
Brady Bunch or Hollywood Squares. Yeah. I got 25 squares on this screen.
Wow.
Oh, well,
And I even haven't-
I'll thank you to keep your personal remarks to yourself, young man.
Is Richard Dawson or Paul Lind in any of those squares?
Oh,
They used to
That
be.
was terrible.
or Charlie Weaver. I like Charlie Weaver.
Charlie Weaver, he was cool.
He was good.
Cliff Arquette.
Yep.
There we go.
He's in a few early Dragnets playing eccentric characters.
He was on Dick and Sade, too.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Well, I needed the laugh and the camaraderie, so thank you all for indulging me.
Well,
Thanks for setting it up. Lynn.
This is fun.
I think we all needed it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Piece of paper.
therapeutic.
If people do have program ideas for June, please get in touch with me.
Okie doke.
Hey,
All right.
everybody stay safe and healthy.
You too.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Everybody.
Next time it'll be a
Thank you,
Black
Edgar.
Friday affair, Edgar.
Thank you.
Take care.
I'm fine on my part, though. I have a typewriter that's not feeling well. I think it's suffering from the Smith coronavirus.
That was terrible.
Oh!
Your mustache.
On that
Mute that
happy
man's
note.
mic.
Here all week and month, and yeah, definitely here. So
Yeah. Hi, the veal.
Here's
Okay.
This is great
Bye.
stuff.
All right. I think we're gonna say goodnight, right? Good night, Gracie.
Gracie.
Good night, Gracie.
Good night,
Gracie.
Gracie. Good night.
Good night.
Next
John
month.
boy.
See you next month. Bye.
Yeah, definitely. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey,
Bye-bye.
Good job. Good job.
Take care, everybody.
back at two.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank
You're
you
welcome.
again, Jack, very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.